All right, good morning. So this video I'm making for, well, anyone who wants to know, but I'm making it for my oldest and one of my oldest and dearest friends. We grew up together, literally. He lived one house away from me. We were in diapers together, crawling around in the backyard. So we grew up together. I was the best man at his wedding. And we grew up playing status pro football, status pro basketball, status pro. Well, he played more status pro baseball than I did. I wasn't a baseball guy. Pay dirt, we played, I mean, thousands of games at these things. And it was Jeff and Freddie and Ron and Scott and uh, oh God, myself playing most of the sports games. My brother Lee played a ton of games with me, and that's where I learned how to play, was my oldest brother. So anyway, but we never had heard of APBA football until for me, I think I discovered APBA football at a mall. I was in a mall and saw the 2000 box, and I bought it, and was kind of intrigued by it, but it was so foreign to me based on what I grew up with. And I had seen Stratomatic. I want to say in the late 80s, we had seen a Stratomatic football game. But APBA to me was completely new and foreign, and I had no idea that APBA preceded all other games at the time. So I had this in the 2000 Super Bowl set. It was two teams, the 2000 set. I think I may have talked about this before in the on a podcast or something, but for Jeff's sake and for anybody who wants to watch. So I was telling Jeff that this is what I mean. If I had discovered this as a kid, I would have played this exclusively because this is my favorite tabletop sports game, and I have a few. I have a lot of favorites, but this is by none for football my favorite tabletop sports game. And I only own the basic set. So this behind me here is the basic edition, and it's good for learning the game. It's good for simple head-to-head play. It's good for teaching, and it's perfect for solo because I don't need all the bells and whistles when I'm playing solo. Head-to-head, the master set would be ideal. The master set adds some plays, it adds some functionality for defensive calls and for special play calls and other things that I still am not familiar with because I do not own the master set. So the game itself comes with two Super Bowl teams for $29.99. I think it's $29.99. And you get two Super Bowl teams, the basic set. Season sets, depending on how many teams are in that season, obviously are based on what it costs to print. For instance, my 1989 set. Oh, you're not going to be able to. So I'm going to have to take off my background, I think. So you can. Let me remove my background. Uh, Shoot, how do I take away the background? Um, Can I just remove it? Shoot, sorry guys, I should have had this. There we go, none. So now you can see what I'm looking at. So here's Miami 1989. They come in a couple of boxes, and you have to go through. You don't have to sort them. They'll be in alphabetical order in the boxes. All the cards will become in long boxes, all the cards, and you just got to thumb through until you go for the start of Miami and the end of Miami, pluck them out. They come with envelopes that you can store the teams in, and you deposit every team in envelopes instead of rubber bands like status pro football. If you remember, uh, like status pro football, you dig out your old status pro football rubber bands. The rubber bands will have disintegrated and will have stuck or ruined the cards. So APBA, I don't know when they introduced envelopes. I'm assuming from day one, but APBA saves you from destroying your cards with disintegrating, melting rubber bands. So this is so sweet. Plus, you could write on here lineups, or you could write on here their real record. You could write on here the date, etc. And I often write up here their offensive grade, their defensive grade, and what their record was if I want to know. So this is 1989 Miami, and I'll go through how the game works here for you, Jeff. But the deal is this. This set cost me with shipping $142, right? So it is not cheap to buy a complete 28 team set or 32 team set. My 1950s editions, I think were all 60 something dollars. So I have 57, 50, and 59, which are three of my favorite seasons of all time. I love the 1950s. And then I wanted a couple of modern sets. I got a 60 something set. I got a special set And then I bought this set I wanted to replay, 89. And many of the sets are sold out. Some sets are coming, some sets are sold out. Hopefully, we'll see a return. For instance, I think the 1985 edition sold out. I think the 1984 edition is sold out because I probably would have bought 84, 85 if I could have. Those two seasons for me are amazing. 84 with Dan Marino's lights out year, that offense, and then San Francisco, and then the Bears in 85 are just phenomenal. As a defensive guy, that Bears defense to me is still the greatest of all time. So anyway, let's talk about it. So every single player on the team is carded, whether they need it or not. And this is one of the things that it's unbeknownst to me, again, in the community. There are many who have argued you don't need offensive linemen, really. You don't need receiver cards. There's a lot of people who have argued that they don't. There's every player's carded, whether they really need it or not. For instance, you're never going to hand the ball off to an offensive lineman unless they carry the ball, right? So Refrigerator Perry, I would assume in 1985, probably has a defensive tackle card and he probably has a fullback card. He'll have two different cards. Or they might put DT fullback on his card and you can use his run column to run him. But it is important that Stoyanovic's if Stoyanovich in 1950s, for instance, you see a lot of you'll see a lot of like offensive linemen who are punters, or you'll see punters who are also wide receivers. They will have two cards because their wide receiver card is, or their running back card is definitely different than their kicking card. So you need two different cards and they identify, all their information. One of the things I love about APBA is you get all their data. You get their where they played college ball, their height, their weight, their date of birth, and where they played college ball. So, dude, when I'm sitting there, I can zone in and really envision Pete Stoyanovich, right? Also, you'll get what they played on offense and how good they are at it and their defense. And this is a grade from 1 to 5. So if you're a 1, you really shouldn't be in the game, right? You're on the bench. You're like fifth on the right. If you're a 5, you're an all-pro. So Dan Marino in 84 would be a 5, the highest possible grade you could be for quarterback. Offense, and then they're rated for defense if they played anything on defense. And then, of course, if they're punters or kickers or kick returners or punt returners or defensive players, they'll have an indication of which column to use for punting, for punt returning, etc. And there's also other variables that show up on their card detail here for the master set that is irrelevant in the basic game, but all the cards are rated for either set. So, for instance, you might have a receiver who's an A5. All that matters in the basic set is A. The -5 is something that's related to the master set. So the number after their A grade, not so important. So your receivers will be rated usually A with a grade, B with a grade, and C with a grade. So you'll see C 1 through 4. You'll see A 5 through. I think there's a receiver as high, goes high as 11. I think if I remember right. Sack guys, QS ratings for defensive players means sacks, quarterback sacks. You'll have a grade or a number. And receive interceptions are W in the game, so you don't confuse I for incomplete pass with an interception. So W is the moniker for interceptions, and if they have a W return, it'll say for a defensive back, it'll say WP, meaning use the P column for interception returns. If it's a fumble, if they had a fumble return, it'll tell you what column to use for fumble returns. So every single player on the team, and you can see this is like 54 players, 53, 54 player set. Every player, whether you need them or not. And for instance, offensive linemen, basically what you need is their grade. You only need their information if they actually caught a pass, had a run, or recovered a fumble or something and ran with it, right? So you might have an offensive lineman with a fumble recovery score, right? Okay. So how does the game work? Well, you go in the basic edition. I'm just going to go over the basic game. So the basic game, when you get your teams out, the score sheet provided will walk you through this. However, I don't use the score sheet they provide, but you have to pick your 11 starting offensive players and your 11 starting defensive players. Once you have your 11 starting offensive players, and these are your fundamental starting team, right? It doesn't mean you can't substitute everything. Of course you can, but you get that block set, and then you total their primary position rating. So Dan Marino in this, I think Dan's a 4 in this, believe it or not. Yeah, Dan's a 4. So Dan would be a 4. Duper is a 3. Edmonds is a 4. Farrell Edmonds already had a killer game in my Buffalo game. 4. Clayton is a 3. And you add up that grade for all 11, and you'll have a score, the power rating of that offense. And that power rating, generally, the average is about 34 or 35. Obviously, if you were in the 20s, that means you don't have a lot of, I mean, that means that's a bad, bad football team, right? So you might see anywhere from 29 to say 39, depending on how powerful the team. There are some teams in the 40s, and there's some defensive teams. So once you get up in the 40s, you're talking about Super Bowl, you're talking about teams that win 15-1 or whatever. So for instance, this Miami team is 38 on offense and 36 on defense, right? If I remember right from my tallies, I don't have it written down. But the point is, you tally up your starting offense and you have a number, and you tally up your starting defense and you have a grade, and you match that up against the other team, right? So Miami's offense was 38 and Buffalo's defense was 37. So Miami had a +1, which is irrelevant. You have to have at least +4 or more, +5 or more, if I remember right. Let me look at the rule book. I think it's +5. You have to be over +4 to get to shift up to a offense. So you assume every team is in the B index, which you're going to find most teams are, because the NFL is not college, right? The NFL, everything is very tight. So let's say Miami against Buffalo is going to be in the B column. They're going to, and Miami against most teams, unless you face a really bad defense, it's going to be a B team. No defense in the game is probably going to reduce Miami to a C offense. So they're going to be B or A most likely. However, there may be, and again, I have yet to go through every team in the league. I just got the set. I just started replaying the season. I've played 3 games. I'm hoping to get some games done in the next couple of weeks. But the reality is, you match them up, and if you're over +4 or more, you get shifted up into the A column for all charts. If you're really poor or against a great defense, you might be shifted into a C column for all plays. And of course, you hover in the B. Almost every game, you're going to be in the B. Matter of fact, I would argue my 50 set, almost every game, the matchups were B. So it's pretty cool. You just stay in the B column. Now, receiver grades toggle that up. So if you're throwing a pass to an A receiver, right, that can toggle you into the A column passing. So although the Dolphins might be a B column team, offense versus Buffalo's defense, when he throws to Duper, who's an A, it'll push that up to an A column, unless you're double covered or the defense is correct, etc. No, so first you have quality of offense in the game, right? So you match up your starting 11 grade against the starting 11 defense. If you have enough points, it'll shift you up to an A for the game on offense, or down to a C on offense, or again, most teams will be in B. That's just to get started. In game, the opposing defense will call passes basic defense or base defense or run defense. If you are running against if you're running against the run defense, then you'll use what's called the G column, right? If you're passing versus pass defense, you use the D column. And if you're passing or running against the base defense, vanilla defense, then you'll use the standard defense column. So you have an A column for all results, but in that A column can be pass versus pass, pass versus run, pass versus standard. And all of those are yardage results. Okay, now all of those yardage results on top of everything are based on field position, which is where I think what makes APBA sing are these charts, and it is phenomenal. These charts are amazing. Matter of fact, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it's brilliant. And then, of course, the cards, right? Because the quality of your statistical performance of Dan Marino is on these cards. Where's Dan again? Let me see if I can pull up Dan. And again, these aren't as intuitive until you've played a lot of games. There are guys in the community who can glance at these numbers and know exactly how good Dan Marino is. I can't yet. I have not yet mastered this abstraction of numbers on the charts, but there are guys that have been playing this for 40 years. Status Pro's intuitive, right? Number 8 is 2 yards. We all know that, right? I can glance and say, oh man, on 12, he gets -1. Dude, he breaks, he gets a short gain on 1, right? So Status Pro, you can look at a card and know immediately how good a player was, right? You could see his stamina on the card. You can see, right, okay. Well, in this, you have to become an expert at the charts to recognize easily the quality of Dan Marino, right? And so for me, there's some mystery in that. I like not really knowing how great Dan Marino is glancing at his card. But to give you an idea, I do know 23, 24, and 25 are interceptions. Well, Dan Marino in his passing column has 124. And these are 66 or 36 results. Dan Marino has he has one and potentially only two interceptions out of 36 rolls. So again, Dan Marino did not throw a lot of picks, at least glancing at it here. Now, granted, some of the charts, if you're caught in a C against the pass defense in certain areas of the field, one of these numbers might creep into an interception rate. But he has a 24, which is a guaranteed interception. He has a 35, which could be on some charts an interception. He has a 36, which on some charts could be an interception. Generally, that might be an interception. The 36, for instance, on the charts generally are penalties. So it could be an interception with a penalty. So you would check the interception, then you would check the penalty to disregard if there's an offensive penalty, or a defensive penalty, right? So 36, for instance, is probably going to be interceptions on some charts with penalty. So Dan Marino, just glancing at this card, he only has one number in 36. That is an interception. So it's pretty damn good, right? He also has, he does not have a number 1 on his pass column. Number 1 is a touchdown on every chart. A number 2 is generally a touchdown on most charts, and a 3 can be a touchdown on charts. But he does have a 2. He does have a 3. He has a couple of 3s. Matter of fact, he has quite a few 3s. So he doesn't have a 1. He has 1, 2, and he has, looks like 3 or 4 3s. So he didn't throw a lot of straight up 1s, right? So whoever led the league in touchdown passes, probably Joe Montana in 1980. No, not Joe Montana. It might have been 1989. Oh, it could have been Jim Kelly. Joe Montana could have been Boomer. Size. I don't remember exactly the top quarterback was in 1989 offhand, but he might have 1s or K, right? And K means you switch to the breakaway column or the kick return column. So Bo Jackson, for instance, on 11s would have a K, and on 66 would have a K. And then that tells you to re-roll. It's like a break. Re-roll it and look at the K column to get your yardage results. So Bo Jackson so when you hit a K, that's usually a breakaway. It's a big play. It's a chance to go the distance generally. But you don't use the run column for the second check. You use the K column. And that's how that works, right? So that's the Miami Dolphins, Dan Marino company. Again, I think they're a 38 offense and a 30, believe it or not, I think they're a 37 defense, which is pretty good. Buffalo, to give you an idea, is a 38 offense, and I think I think they're very close. Somewhere I have oh wait, here it is. From the game I replayed, let's go find the game. Buffalo, Miami. Okay, so Buffalo had a 38 offense, 36 defense. Miami had a 37 offense, 34 defense. So Miami's defense against Buffalo was 4 points, but it was still a B. You need 5 or more to be in the A column. So Buffalo was still a B. Miami's 37 against 36 was B column. So again, both these teams were in a B column, and Miami won this game 45-34. Dan Marino threw 4 touchdown passes. He threw 2 interceptions in the first half, believe it or not, and then he threw 4 touchdowns the remainder of the game. And 2 kick returns by Mark Logan. And Mark Logan has a 1 on his kick return column. And I rolled, I believe, 11 and 66 in the game, and he returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns, did Mark Logan. It actually should be more rare than that, because the kickoff column tells you who gets to kick the ball, right? Who gets to return the ball, the A, B, or C returner. And I use on my charts that I've invented, for solo charts for this, I only use the A guy. So normally Mark Logan might not have even had that many kick returns, but there you have it. So to give you an idea, the game book is the rules. On the first few pages, it describes exactly how to play the game for the first, I want to say 4, 5 pages. Then we have all of our charts, and this is what makes APBA football amazing, because first of all, the sheer number of outcomes is amazing, but also the dynamism in outcomes is amazing, right? So we have a ton of different outcomes and varied results. So you can have like on fumbles. I mean, you can have a fumble return downfield. Just to give you an idea, the sheer number of interception return charts. So it's got, I don't know, I mean, I can't imagine how many columns there. One, two. It's got a ton of interception return charts alone. So a result might say interception 28. You go to the interception 28 column to see how far downfield and who picked it off. And then you look at your starting lineup, see who on defense picked it off. You look to see if they have a interception return. Then you roll the return on the special teams charts. But this is what makes APBA so good. If I'm in between the defense's goal line and 9, so when I'm inside your 10-yard line, we use these offensive results, right? Which means we're in the red zone, which is going to be, it's going to reflect how much harder it is, right? Or how much little yardage you can get inside the 9, right? You're not going to see a 45-yard gain inside the 9, right? You're going to see, but there's more touchdowns because the top two are TDs. So any back that has a 1 or 2 on their run number is going to score easier inside the 9. However, the yardage results much tougher compared to being in between the 30s, for instance. So when we're on the offenses 20 and 50, right? You're going to use certain charts. This is for runs and all passes. So again, the basic game, and again, I haven't owned the master set, so I'm not certain how much extra stuff is there. The basic game, you have run inside, run outside, short, medium, and long passes. That's it. You get 5 offensive play calls. There's no draw, there's no screen, there's no in round, okay, in the basic game. It's very simple. You're either running inside, you're running outside. You pick the target. I'm running inside with Mark Logan. I'm running outside with Stratford, right? I'm passing short to Duper. I'm passing long to Clayton. I'm passing medium to Farrell Edmonds. Defensive guy, very simple. I am calling run, standard, or pass defense. That's it. It does have an advanced rule for keying and double coverage in this rule. I think it's advanced. I think there's an advanced keying and double coverage in here, but that's it, right? So when I say basic, it's perfect for learning the game. It's perfect for playing with your kids, and it's perfect for playing with old lazy guys like me who don't really, I'm not too concerned in the solo about all the master set machinations. No doubt, if I was playing against you or anyone else, I would want that master set. We would want to get into we'd want to drill into those coaching X's and O's. But anyway, there you have it. That's APBA Football. And I have played, I completed the 1957 replay. I've completed the 1958 replay, and I've completed the 1959 replay every game. I have completed 57 actually twice. I just love the 50s, late 50s teams. Love those players, those teams. So I've played hundreds of games of APBA in the few years I've had this set already. I would say, I don't know how many years I've had APBA now. Anyway, and there is no doubt in my mind that it would have been for me, it is for me the best tabletop football simulator, bar none. It's still available. That's a huge plus. And you can still get tons of different seasons and even college, right? So they have college sets, they have pro sets. I would love to see them do USFL, XFL. That would be so cool if they would do, a historical set like that. They haven't yet, but they've done AFL, 60s AFL. They've done all pro, all star sets, things like that. Lots of options, and they do every sport, every major sport except I'm not certain they do basketball, but they do a hockey game that's amazing. Baseball I've not yet seen, but again, it's epic, and I know that is again, it's probably the most loved APBA game is the baseball game. And then there's a soccer game, which is amazing, but again, a little cumbersome for me is the soccer game. But again, it's remarkable. Uh, and I know how you feel about soccer, right? It's not a sport, right? So I actually dig soccer a lot, but I know Jeff ain't a big fan of soccer, I don't think. Anyway, the baseball game is something I would like to get eventually because it looks fantastic as well. I only have so much time left on this planet, so and my passion for football. There's nothing that there's no sport on the planet that matches my passion for football. Boxing is close, but I love football, especially when I can go back in time to these great old teams and at times and play alone quickly, right? I can get through a game anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how I'm tracking stats or what I'm doing. So solo with this set. Anyway, that's how it works. And the solo, for those wondering, the game comes with what's called an alternative defensive chart. Um, it tells you what the defense is likely to be in based on the yardage. You don't have to guess, but you can roll based on the quality of the defense, what defense they're going to be in. So how easy it to me to play solitaire? I just call a short pass to Duper, and then I roll the Buffalo's defense. Pass played, Buffalo's defense is 38. I roll the dice, and it tells me that, and their probability that they're in the right defense is higher based on the quality of their defense. So if you can see here, you can get as high as 52. I would assume the 85 Bears or the Steelers still current is somewhere in the 50s, probably, right? Maybe the 2000 Baltimore Ravens might even be up here in the 50s. I don't know. I've not yet seen a team in the 50s. I've seen a team as high as 47, I think. But the point is this: the better your defense, the easier it is they're going to be in the right defense in when you play solitaire, which is a super smart way to do it. I'm not worried about down and distance. I can just roll this every time, and this example puts them, because they're a damn good defense, they must be in the better defense more often, or it's a reflection of the quality of the coaching staff as well. So very cool. The basic game tells you how to set up a basic offense and a basic defense. The master set shows you how to set up, I think, nickels and dimes, double tight end sets, etc. It's not complicated. You can do that yourself by just subbing out Duper and subbing in a second tight end. Obviously, that's his number grade, and his receiving grade is going to be worse probably than Duper. So the basic game just assumes you're going to have the best starters on the field most of the time and the best starting defensive players on the field most of the time, despite nickel, dime, etc. Now, injuries, if a guy gets injured, you roll the dice. If he's got a J rating that's high, you pull him, he's going to most likely miss multiple games. If he has a 0 J rating, he can only miss one play. So you've got injury ratings, all that stuff. And it is amazing. And Fred and I actually played that Super Bowl set I had when I was living in Colorado Springs still. And when I had the set, Fred came over. We actually played it, and it was amazing because we had never seen a game that set field position. So, when you drive down and get inside the 20, the defense tightens up, right? So, as an offense, now it's a tighter defense. Your yardage results are tighter now, and it just feels like football because it's not as easy to score now when we're in that red zone, right? And then between the 30s, what is it? So great. And we loved it, man. We loved it. And I was playing this a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I mean, I was knocking out maybe one or two games a day there for a string for me to finish my 50s replays. Unbelievable. Okay. All right, buddy. One day maybe you and I will be together and we'll be able to play a little APBA. And so whether I come over there to visit or you come over here to visit or something, maybe in the future we'll be able to sit down, cook up a frozen pizza like the good old days and play a little Miami and Raiders. All right, man. Have a good one, buddy.